The Council Hall of the Galactic Union was filled with noise and light. Bright banners of many alien empires hung from the tall ceiling. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in high seats, speaking in different voices and tones. This was where great decisions were made, about war, peace, and who ruled the stars. Today, the topic was Earth. When the speaker said the name of the blue planet, many council members laughed. Loud, sharp, cruel laughter. The three-eyed general from the Krex Empire slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "Earth? Those soft ones. Their men are weak. They cry in battles and write poems during war." Another alien, covered in red scales, hissed, "They hide behind machines and emotions. They are not warriors. They are nothing." The laughter grew louder. Some even began to chant, "Send the Earthman! Send the Earthman!" In the center of the great hall stood one human, Daniel Reeve. He wore no armor, no suit of power, just simple dark clothes and a long coat. His hands were behind his back. His face was calm. He did not smile. He did not speak. He only watched. Many aliens looked down at him, expecting him to shout back, to defend his world, to argue. But he said nothing. His silence was heavier than a battle cry. Beside him stood a machine scribe who recorded everything. It whispered to the council, "Earth has agreed to send Daniel Reeve as their chosen representative. He accepts all trials." Again, laughter. One alien even threw a small metal coin at Daniel. It hit his shoulder and fell to the ground. He didn't move. "He is scared," someone said. "No," said a voice in the shadows. It was a soft, clicking voice from an old alien with silver skin. "He is thinking." A few looked at the old being and frowned, but they said nothing more. The High Warden of Trials stood. His armor glowed red, and his voice shook the walls. "Daniel Reeve of Earth, do you understand what you face? The trial of champions is not for peace. It is for power. It is for fear. You will face monsters, killers, warriors from worlds older than your sun." Daniel finally looked up. His voice was quiet, calm, steady. "I understand." That was all he said. No speech, no promises, just those two words. The High Warden nodded. "Then you shall enter the arena of Grax. You will face your first trial at dawn." He hit his staff to the ground, and the hall's lights went dark. As the crowd left, many still laughed. Some made bets on how long the human would last. 10 seconds, said a spiked warrior. "Maybe 15. He'll trip and fall," said another. But a few didn't laugh. A few remembered something strange. In that giant hall of powerful voices and angry boasts, the only one who didn't need to raise his voice was the human. Later that night, Daniel stood in his small room. There was nothing inside but a bed and a sink. No weapons, no guards. He stood by the window and looked out at the stars. A small screen buzzed. It was a message from Earth Command. They asked him, "Are you ready?" Daniel typed back, slowly, "They don't understand." He paused, then added, "But they will." Far away, in a silent corner of the galaxy, an old warrior from the Tarn Empire watched the replay of Daniel's calm face. The warrior turned to his student and whispered, "I have seen eyes like his before. Not in loud men, not in kings, but in old soldiers. The ones who lost too much and learned never to speak about it." The student asked, "So he is dangerous?" The old warrior answered, "More than dangerous. He is prepared." Back in the council city, in bars and dark corners, rumors began to spread. Not all humans were soft. Some were quiet because they didn't need to prove anything. Some were trained in silence. Some carried storms inside their minds. And one of them now stood in the arena, waiting, not to show off, not to win, but to teach the galaxy what real strength looked like. And when the sun rose over the blood-red sands of Grax, Daniel Reeve did not pray. He did not run. He simply stepped forward, and the gates closed behind him. The arena of Grax was not made for sport. It was made for pain. The red sand was soaked in old blood. Bones were buried under it. Above, thousands of aliens cheered from their seats, their voices full of hunger. They'd wanted a show. They'd wanted death. In the middle of the arena stood Daniel Reeve, alone, calm. Across from him, the gate rumbled open. A beast walked out. It was a Gorak, 12 feet tall, covered in black plates of natural armor. Its arms were thick like tree trunks. Its face had no eyes, only a mouth full of long yellow teeth. The Gorak had killed champions from 5 different star systems. It had never been stopped. The crowd screamed in joy. Rip the human apart. Show him what real warriors look like. Daniel did not move. He looked at the Gorak and studied its steps. He saw how it dragged its left leg slightly. It had been injured before. It leaned heavy on its right side. The beast roared. Dust shook off the arena walls. Daniel slowly took off his coat and dropped it to the sand. His shirt underneath was plain. No armor, no shield, just a man standing tall. The Gorak charged. Fast. The ground shook with each step. The crowd stood, expecting blood. But in the last second, Daniel stepped sideways. Not fast, just precise, calm. The Gorak ran past him and almost crashed into the wall. The crowd was silent for a moment. Daniel turned. The beast roared again and spun toward him. This time it attacked with its claws, sharp enough to slice steel. Daniel ducked under the swing and struck once, with his palm, not his fist, right under the Gorak's chin. The beast froze, then dropped. No sound, no scream, just a heavy crash into the sand. Dead. The arena went silent. Even the High Warden stood from his chair, confused. It had taken less than 20 seconds. No weapons, no powers, just one man. Then the crowd began to shout. Trick. Poison. Impossible. But the med drones checked the beast. No poison. No trick. The human had hit the right spot, just once. A weak point in the beast's skull. A perfect strike. Daniel walked off the sand. He picked up his coat, put it on slowly, then left through the same gate. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't celebrate. He just walked away. In the council chambers, many were now quiet. A few spoke in low voices. How did he know that point? Was it luck? Is this human trained? Back in his room, Daniel sat alone. He cleaned his hands. No blood on them, but he still wiped them carefully. A message came on the screen. From Earth Command. First challenge complete. You did well. Daniel replied. They still don't see it. Another message appeared, this time from a private line. A Tarn warrior had seen the fight and sent a message. Where did you train? Daniel answered. Earth. The Tarn replied. I've fought in 400 battles. I've never seen a strike like that. Daniel replied. Then you haven't fought the right men. Across the galaxy, people began to talk. Some said Earth had no warriors. Others said Earth had only warriors. But they hid them, trained them in silence, sent only one to show the galaxy how wrong they had been. The council was forced to accept the result. Daniel passed the first trial. But some were angry. This human is dangerous, said the Krex general. Next time, make him bleed. The High Warden nodded. Very well. The next challenge will not be a beast. It will be fear. The arena changed. The next trial would be inside the mind rooms, chambers that show a person's worst fears. Most warriors cry. Some go mad. The human would enter alone. No enemies to strike, just his mind. That night, Daniel looked out the window again. He could hear the whispers through the walls. They say he's not human. They say he's a ghost. They say Earth lied. He closed his eyes and remembered the war back home. The screams, the burning sky, the day he lost his brother, the years of silence that followed. The mind rooms would show fear, but Daniel had already lived it. Now he would walk into fear again, not to fight it, but to show the galaxy that Earth's warriors don't just survive fear, they carry it inside them, and never let it break them. Not anymore. 4-0. The mind rooms were not made of metal or stone. They were made of thought, built with psychic energy and ancient alien tech. Once someone entered, they were no longer in the real world. Their body stayed still, but their mind, it traveled deep into fear. Daniel Reeves stood outside the mind rooms, silent as always. A group of alien judges waited nearby. They looked nervous. One of them whispered, "Most don't last more than 10 minutes. Let's see if the human breaks." The High Warden gave the signal. The door opened. Daniel walked in. The door closed behind him. Outside, the judges stared at the monitor. It showed Daniel's face. If he screamed or cried or moved too much, the test would stop. But inside, Daniel was not moving at all. In the dark world of the mind room, Daniel stood on a battlefield. Smoke filled the sky. He heard screaming. Fire burned on all sides. It was Earth, but not Earth now. It was Earth during the last Civil War. His war. He saw his brother again, James, running toward a broken building. "No," Daniel shouted. A missile hit. The building collapsed. Daniel ran forward. He screamed, "James," but his voice was lost in the noise. He dropped to his knees. The ground cracked and pulled him down. Now he was in another memory. His training center, a place where they broke men to rebuild them stronger. He saw the walls, the chains, the ice water, the empty meals, the voice of his commander. "You are not allowed to cry. You are not allowed to sleep. Weakness is death." He was young again, cold, afraid. But then, in the darkness, he stood. Older now, stronger. He whispered, "I remember this." The room shifted. Now he was standing in space, Earth below him, burning. Every city destroyed. He saw people floating dead. The stars turned red. A deep voice echoed, "This is your future, human. You failed your world." But Daniel didn't scream. He didn't run. He whispered, "This is not fear. This is memory." And then, the darkness cracked. The mind room tried harder. It showed him being forgotten. His name erased. Earth destroyed. The galaxy laughing. But Daniel just stood there. He whispered again, "You can't scare me with what I've already survived." Outside the mind room, 20 minutes had passed. The alien judges looked confused. He should be screaming by now. Is the machine broken? Check again. They boosted the power of the fear levels. Inside, the sky turned into a wall of faces. People Daniel had failed, people he couldn't save. They pointed at him, shouting, "It's your fault." But he didn't move. He just whispered, "I've said those same words to myself 1,000 times." Suddenly, the images stopped. The room was empty, quiet. The system had no more fear to show him. Daniel stood alone in the dark, breathing slowly. Then the door opened. He walked out. The judges stared. No sweat, no shaking, no fear. The High Warden stepped forward. "You passed. But how?" Daniel looked at him with calm eyes. "Fear is not something you escape. You learn to live with it. Earth teaches us that early." The warden said nothing. The crowd outside heard the news. Whispers turned into silence. The human had entered the worst fear machine in the galaxy and walked out like he had taken a nap. Some aliens didn't believe it. They called it a trick. But others, especially the soldiers, understood what it meant. Daniel wasn't strong because he had no fear. He was strong because he had made peace with it. That night, many watched the replay of Daniel's face in the mind room. No screams, no crying, Only silence, only steady breath. Some were scared, not of his muscles, not of his weapons, but of his mind. The next challenge was ready. A trial of combat against other living warriors, some of the best in the galaxy. The strongest blades, the deadliest claws, the fastest reflexes. Daniel would face them all. But the galaxy now knew one thing. If fear couldn't break him, nothing would. And that's when the galaxy began to worry. Maybe Earth didn't send a warrior. Maybe they sent something more. Something built in pain, forged in silence, and released only when the stars laughed too loud. The laughter was dying now, and fear was beginning to grow. But it wasn't Daniel who felt it. It was everyone else. The crowd had never been this loud before. The arena of blood shook with every cheer. Aliens from across the galaxy had come to see one thing: the human fight the deadliest warriors in the stars. They called it the Clash of Titans, but only one fighter looked small: Daniel Reeve. He stood in the center of the wide red arena. He had no armor, no weapons, just his calm eyes and steady breath. Around him, 5 gates were closed. Behind each one waited a warrior, monsters, legends, killers, the best each species had to offer. One of them, the Jarl Beast, had torn a tank in half with its bare hands. Another, the Vect Assassin, had once wiped out a royal family in 5 seconds. And yet, Daniel didn't move. He looked up once at the crowd. So many aliens laughed. They thought he would die today. The High Warden stood and raised his hand. Begin. The 5 gates opened. All at once, the fighters charged. The Jarl Beast roared and swung first. A massive fist, covered in bone armor, came flying toward Daniel. But he stepped to the side, just an inch. The punch missed. Daniel grabbed the beast's arm and twisted. The beast screamed. Its elbow cracked. Daniel moved like water, fast, smooth, cold. The Vect Assassin tried to strike from behind, but Daniel ducked low and kicked his legs out. The Vect fell, and before it could vanish again, Daniel stomped its chest once. The Vect stopped moving. Another fighter came in, a 4-armed warrior with blades for fingers. It slashed at Daniel, fast, too fast for most eyes. Daniel didn't block. He leaned. Each blade missed by inches. Then he stepped inside the warrior's reach. Hit once in the chest. The alien gasped and dropped. The crowd went silent. 3 down, 2 left. One was a tall insect-like creature that spat acid. The other, a dark-scaled brute with twin hammers. They attacked together. Daniel picked up a fallen blade and spun. The hammer missed. The acid splashed the ground. Daniel cut the brute's leg. It roared and fell. Then he threw the blade hard. It hit the insect warrior in the throat. Silence again. All 5 warriors down. Less than a minute had passed. Daniel stood alone in the blood-soaked arena. He wiped his hands, looked up again. This time, no one laughed. The High Warden stared in disbelief. So did the soldiers. So did the spies. Daniel turned and walked away. No smile. No pride. Just quiet steps. Later, in the dark council room, voices argued. He cannot be normal. Maybe he's enhanced. Maybe Earth has hidden its real army. But why send just one? Because one was enough. That night, many tried to study the fight. They slowed the video, measured his steps, timed his strikes, but nothing made sense. He moved too cleanly, too perfectly. He made no mistakes. Warriors trained for a lifetime had been defeated like children. Some planets wanted answers. Others wanted to prepare for war. A few began to send secret messages to Earth, not threats, but apologies. They were starting to understand. Earth was not weak. Earth had simply stayed quiet. Daniel sat alone in his chamber. The lights were off. His coat was folded. His hands were still. A voice came through the speaker. "You're making them afraid." Daniel replied, "They should be." Another message came, encrypted, from an Earth general. "The mission is working. They are listening now. Keep going." Daniel replied, "When is the final trial?" The voice answered, "Soon. The hardest one yet." Daniel closed his eyes. He whispered, "Good." Far above the arena, the council prepared the final test. It would not be a fight. It would be a question, a choice, something even the strongest minds could fail. Because the last trial was not about strength. It was about what a human would do when given true power. And the galaxy prayed that Daniel Reeve was not what they feared. But deep inside, they already knew he was worse. Because strength is not scary, but a man who controls it. That is true fear. The room was cold, not from temperature, but from silence. Heavy, deep silence. Daniel Reeve stood in the center of it, facing a smooth stone table. Across from him sat the High Warden and 6 other council leaders. No crowd, no arena, no cameras this time. Just words, just choice. The High Warden spoke first. "You've passed every test. Fear, pain, battle. You are stronger than we expected. Smarter, more dangerous." Daniel said nothing. Another council member leaned forward. Her voice was low. "Now we test something else. Something harder." The table lit up. A screen showed 2 planets. One, green and full of life. Peaceful people. Farmers. Children. The second, gray. A military base. Heavily armed. A fleet ready for war. The council's own hidden army. "You must choose," the High Warden said. "One will be destroyed. One will be saved. You decide." Daniel looked at the screen. No timer. No pressure. Just a voice in the dark saying, "Choose." He stayed quiet. "Choose the peaceful world," said one alien, "and you show mercy. Choose the military one," said another, "and you remove a threat." "Do nothing," said the High Warden, "and both die." The silence grew heavier. Daniel didn't flinch. His eyes were cold, focused. He asked one question. "Why?" The Warden smiled. "Because we want to know what kind of monster Earth sends. A killer, a coward, a man who thinks he's a god." Daniel stood straight. He walked toward the screen. He looked at both planets. Then he said 3 words. "I choose neither." The Warden blinked. "Then they both die." Daniel shook his head. "No, you die." Before the council could react, Daniel pressed a small switch on his wrist. A silent signal. Far away, something woke up. Something Earth had placed in orbit long ago. A hidden satellite. Not a weapon, but a transmitter. It spoke in an ancient Earth language. One code. One word. Awaken. On a forgotten moon near the edge of the galaxy, machines began to rise. Huge, black machines, covered in dust and time. War engines from Earth's past, from before the silence, before Earth stopped fighting. They had waited, buried, sleeping. Now they moved. The council chambers shook. The Warden stood. "What have you done?" Daniel looked at him, calm as ever. "You gave me a choice. I made my own." On the screen, both planets vanished. Not destroyed. Hidden. A trick. The trial was fake. A test. But Daniel had known. He had guessed from the start. Because Earth had learned something long ago. The greatest lie was choice. Real monsters don't play games. Real monsters make their own rules. The council tried to run. Guards rushed in. Daniel didn't move. He didn't need to. The machines had arrived. From the sky, above every council world, Earth's ancient war machines descended. No shots fired. No cities burned. They just hovered, waiting. Silent threats. Daniel's voice echoed across the chamber. "Your galaxy thinks Earth is weak. soft, full of emotion. But let me tell you something. He stepped closer. You never saw our full strength, because we locked it away. Not to protect us from you, but to protect you from us. The guards froze. The council leaders sat back down. Fear now filled the room. Not fear of death, fear of understanding. Daniel spoke once more. This trial was yours, but now the game is over. He turned and walked out. Outside, the stars were quiet. No war had started. No blood had spilled. But the message was clear. Earth had monsters too. They just kept them sleeping. Until someone mocked too loud. Until someone asked for war. Until someone killed something innocent, something small. Then Earth would remember. Then men like Daniel would come. And the galaxy would finally see what humans really were. Not weak, not soft, but something worse. Something that could smile while the stars trembled. Word of what Daniel Reeve did spread fast. Too fast. Across systems. Across galaxies. No one had seen him destroy anything. But that made it worse. Because what he did was louder than fire. Louder than war. He had made the galaxy silent. No one spoke against Earth now. No one dared. The council worlds were quiet. Their leaders, once proud, were now scared to even speak Earth's name in public. They had faced one man, one human, and they had lost without a single drop of blood. That fear, it spread like a sickness. In dark rooms, rulers whispered, "What if Earth has more like him?" A general on the planet Kova locked all training camps and started building bunkers underground. A royal family on Ceres IV sent gifts to Earth, massive crystals and rare metals. Bribes, really. A warlord who once said, "Humans are weak," now refused to leave his palace. He slept with armed guards at every door. But Earth didn't speak. Earth didn't answer. They watched. And that silence became the loudest scream of all. Some aliens tried to resist the fear. A few said it was just a trick, that Daniel was special, a one-of-a-kind human. But then, another human showed up. Not in a war zone. Not in a fight. In a school. A human woman named Dr. Lena Park arrived on a science station above the planet Draxel. She came to teach biology. Simple. Quiet. But the Draxel leaders panicked. Why would Earth send another? They asked. "She's just a teacher," said the station head. But no one believed it. Some thought she was another killer in disguise. Others thought she was a spy. Some even thought she was Daniel's mate, and that made them even more afraid. So they shut down half the station, moved soldiers into the halls, watched her every move. Dr. Park said nothing. She smiled, taught the students, helped them with small problems, brought them candy from Earth. But one day, a student asked her, "Are humans really monsters?" She paused. Then she said, "No, but we are good at becoming what the galaxy needs." That sentence made it back to the council, and fear grew again. Because Earth hadn't threatened anyone. Earth hadn't sent soldiers or fleets. Just a man who fought, and a woman who taught. And both had shaken the stars. Back on Earth, leaders met in secret. They watched the council. They listened to the fear. And they waited. Daniel sat in a black room beneath a mountain. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat much. He simply watched. The room had no windows, only screens. Each one showed a different world, a different army, a different face trying to smile while hiding fear. Daniel didn't smile. A voice spoke from the wall. "Mission working. Phase 2 is ready." Daniel stood. He spoke only 2 words. "Not yet." The voice paused. "Why?" Daniel answered, "They're still learning. Let them learn. Let the fear grow." Because fear, once planted, doesn't go away. It grows in the dark, and it makes even the strongest hands shake. The council didn't want war anymore. They wanted peace. But it was too late. They had mocked Earth. They had tested Earth's patience. And they had killed a human child. They had lit a fire they couldn't put out. Now, they were trying to calm the flames, but Earth wasn't done. Not yet. The machines Daniel had awoken still waited above key planets. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They simply floated, watching, waiting. The galaxy asked, "What are they waiting for?" Some said a signal. Some said a second death. Some said nothing at all. Because maybe they were not weapons. Maybe they were warnings. A reminder that Earth could end wars without firing a single shot. And one day, someone whispered the final truth. It's not the machines we fear. It's the humans who know when not to use them. And with that, the fear became something worse. Respect. The galaxy had changed. No war had started. No cities had burned. But every ruler, every commander, every council member now made one rule clear. Do not touch Earth. Do not test the humans. But fear alone doesn't last forever. And some still doubted. Whispers started again in dark corners of power. They're bluffing. Daniel Reeve was just one man. They can't fight the whole galaxy. So they tried one last time. They captured him. It was fast, quiet, a stolen ship, a gravity trap, a drug that shut his body down. They took him to a secret black site, a prison made to hold monsters. Deep underground, no sky, no signals, no hope. The council didn't tell anyone, not even their allies. Only a few knew, the ones who planned it. They wanted answers. They wanted to break him. The High Warden himself came to the dark cell. Daniel was chained, arms locked behind his back, heavy cuffs that blocked his strength. Still, he stared like nothing had changed. "You're not so scary now," the warden said. Daniel didn't answer. "We gave you a chance to walk away," the warden continued. "You made us look weak. Now we find out what makes you break." Days passed. They tried everything. Pain, sleep deprivation, lies, mind tricks, fear gas. Daniel stayed silent. No screams, no answers, just eyes like stone. On the 10th day, the warden tried something new. He showed Daniel a screen. On it, a child from Earth, or so it looked. "This one dies," he said, "unless you talk." Daniel looked at the screen once, then turned away. The warden growled, "Do you feel nothing? No fear, no pain?" Daniel finally spoke. "I feel one thing." The warden leaned in. "What?" Daniel looked up. Calm, cold, pity. That night, the black site went dark. Every door unlocked. Every guard vanished. No one escaped. No one survived. Only Daniel walked out. The cuffs were broken behind him. No camera caught it. No alarm rang. But when a drone flew to the site the next day, they found only one thing written on the prison wall. 4 words: "Let Earth sleep again." The message spread across the galaxy in minutes. This time, there were no questions, no whispers, only silence. Even the strongest empires shut their mouths. The council fell apart. Leaders resigned. Armies stood down. They finally understood. They hadn't caught Daniel. He had let them. He wanted them to see, not what he could do, but what Earth could choose not to do. Because the scariest thing wasn't a human who killed. It was a human who didn't need to. Back on Earth, Daniel stood on a cliff, watching the sunrise. A young soldier came beside him. "We got your signal," she said. "The council." Shaken, Daniel replied. "Will they come back?" Daniel watched the sky. "Maybe," he said. "But next time, they won't laugh first." The soldier nodded. "The machines." "Sleeping again," Daniel said, "where they belong." She looked at him. "Why not finish it? End them now." Daniel turned to her. Because power means nothing if you use it to destroy everyone who fears you. He paused. We fight only when there's no choice left. That's the last rule Earth follows. She nodded slowly. And behind them, on a quiet Earth, the war machines sank back into the ground, covered in soil, forgotten by time, waiting once more, because Earth didn't need to conquer the stars. The stars had already learned. You don't mock Earth's quiet men, because behind one of them is a planet full of monsters, sleeping monsters, who only wake when someone makes one terrible mistake. They kill a child, and the stars go still.